Cool. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
Really good to be chatting to you. Thanks for saying you do this.
That's okay.
And hello to everybody who's joining us and watching the replay. So, first of all, if you could tell us a bit about your story and where you're at.
Yeah, certainly. So my name is Claire Prosser. I am a parent to a little boy with autism called Seb. He was diagnosed with autism just after his 3rd birthday, and yeah, we've had some interesting times. There have definitely been some kind of ups and downs in our journey. But he's okay. He's doing okay. We're finding a way, and it's working for us at the moment. So.
Fab. And you've started an amazing little, I don't know what you'd call it, but Spectropolis is your baby as well. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. So Spectropolis was kind of on the following a period when I was feeling really, really low. So it was just when Seb was going through diagnosis. You have those moments of feeling like there's so much uncertainty around your child and their diagnosis. What is going to happen for them? Are they going to be able to live independently? Are they going to even be able to engage in society at all in any form? And you worry, you constantly worry. So I was really at a low point, didn't know where I was going with it, had lots of support around me. Yeah. I just didn't know what the outcome would be for Seb and for us. So my mum and I visited my aunt and her friend in London, and we went for a little walk. She could tell I was feeling really low, and she's like, "So how are you going to pull yourself out of it? What are you going to do?" And nobody had asked me that before. It was just kind of like everybody was trying to be really supportive, really nurturing, but she just asked the question that nobody else asked. And it was kind of like, only you can be the person who pulls yourself out of it. So what are you going to do? Maybe you should start writing things down. So it was kind of either going to be a website, a blog, a book, something along those terms where I could express how I was feeling, offload a little bit, and it would help me, and it would help Seb, and it would help my husband as well. So we got our kind of heads together and started thinking about what it was going to look like. So we decided to set up a Facebook page to begin with, and we decided together that we would call it Spectropolis, partly because I felt that I needed a name that kind of represented what our life was like. Autism kind of encompassed everything we did, and it needed to almost be like a destination where people could go and feel comfortable, because there's often that sense of not feeling comfortable in society. Your child doesn't conform to the same kind of expectations that other people's children do, and there's that sense of it not being okay if your child is having a meltdown, and what do you do about it? Will you go out and face it? Will you just hide away because you can't face the negativity that it brings? So it felt like it needed to be a destination where people could go and feel comfortable. So Spectropolis was born, and I just started posting about kind of how things were for us, sharing information from professionals, sharing other stories from other blogs, just a little venue that people could go. And it wasn't just about parents, it was about professionals as well, a place where everybody could go and access information. So it wasn't a place of kind of slating things that weren't quite going right. It was meant to be a place where people felt that they could access information, but that it was presented in a very positive way, because autism feels very, you feel like you're drowning a little bit in autism sometimes. So I wanted it to be a positive spin on what was happening in our lives. So that's kind of really where Spectropolis came from.
Right. And it's an absolutely beautiful place. It's a beautiful page, and you do this amazing thing with rainbows. You have a rainbow every day, don't you? And it's just beautiful. It's so uplifting for anybody, I think, not even for parents who are necessarily going through, but I think from an raising awareness point of view, like, have you found you've had, what's been the comeback from it, like how?
Yeah, I think I think, as you say, every day we try and share some either a positive kind of quote or a rainbow or something that just uplifts you.
Right.
And it is partly for my own benefit, because sometimes I don't feel that uplifted. And it's partly for the benefit of others, knowing that, okay, it might be tough, but you will find a moment in the day that will be good, that will be positive, and hold on to that, not to the negativity that kind of, your day might present. And the feedback really has been really good. People are sharing their own rainbows. There was a time when every day I was trawling the internet trying to look for a picture of a rainbow. But now I get loads of people send me some wonderful quotes and wonderful rainbows. So they're really, engaging in that process of positivity, which is really nice. And I think people quite like that, although it's meant to be positive, it's honest. It's not hiding away from the real kind of facts of autism. It isn't an easy process, but there are ways and means of making it feel more positive. So I think it needs to be realistic, but
and I think you've shared really openly on it about your sort of personal feelings, like your emotional kind of coping, and how do you carry on doing it? Like I try and be online and try and share my story, and I don't, like I find it hard, and I know a lot of people find it hard to be consistent with it, but you are consistent. And I'm sure some days, and this is with being a mum in general and, dealing with the autism aspect, but what do you do to keep yourself going and like to just carry on being out there, even though some days I'm sure you just want to hide your head?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm definitely somebody who likes to remain active in this kind of world, because this kind of role almost deflects from kind of the difficulties that autism presents. It's an outlet for me, so it's easy for me to engage in it because it feels good for me. It's a cathartic process for me. But also, I think it is, it's about acknowledging that you need time for yourself. I think that's really important. I think we get caught up in life, we get caught up in parenting. There are, clubs that we have to take our children to, you get into the school morning routines and things like that, then trying to support your partner as well. That's kind of, trying to manage all of that plus work.
Yeah.
And it just gets a bit overwhelming sometimes. And I think you need to realize that sometimes you just need to stop, take a step back and spend some time on yourself. I don't think I always prioritize myself. And sometimes it has to be a conscious effort to kind of stop and just think, no, I need to take some time, whether it's just having 5 minutes upstairs on my own to listen to some relaxing music, or even just go to the toilet on my own. It's kind of just 5 minutes.
Doesn't happen.
But it's just finding those times when you can just clear your head for a minute, regain some kind of sense of where you're going for the day, and carry on. Ideally you would have, an evening to yourself every now and again where you would go and have a meal with your partner, or, go out with the girls and have a drink, or whatever it might be that you enjoy. So it's just when you can find time for yourself, because then you're refreshed and you can crack on again, whereas life sometimes feels like a bit of a treadmill, and, and sometimes you've got to step off it. You have to.
I think sometimes the hardest thing is actually realizing that that's what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think we're so conditioned in, like, it's just the way it is, and you've just got to keep doing it, and you're a mum, and you're this, and you're that, and you're this, and you're that. And before you know it, like, years have passed, and you're like, oh, where have I gone? But I think it's actually being able to recognize and clock that that's what's happened. I think that's quite hard for a lot of parents, a lot of mums. I'm not a dad, but
yeah, definitely, I agree. I think it's true of most parents. I think you get caught up in that cycle of life and not taking a moment to stop and think about what's happening around you. You don't then realize that actually you're probably in burnout, and you need to stop and you need to step away from it for a minute. And it's only when you kind of lose that you're cool, or that kind of things don't quite go to plan, that you then realize actually you know, sometimes you have to hit crisis point to realize that you need to, you know, to do something about it. And I think that's definitely where we were, you know, in terms of kind of Seb and his difficulties. We definitely reached an all-time low and reached that crisis point. And we had to think of ways to manage it, you know. And both Dan and I accept that we both need time away sometimes. It's not easy, it's constant, it can be quite draining. You know, trying to meet Seb's needs can be quite a challenge sometimes. And we need a break from it to be able to be the very best that we can for him and for us as well.
Oh, really, really good. Is there one thing you wish you'd known at the beginning of your journey, sort of? Like for any new mums maybe watching this, or mums who've just sort of starting to realize that maybe their little one's got autism or has been given a diagnosis, what sort of advice would you give them?
I think it's about kind of, for us, the biggest journey was kind of creating our normal. So kind of you try, I think society sets us up to kind of fit into a box, you know, and life should look like this. Our children should behave in this way. Our children should go to this type of school or whatever it is. You know, we're driven by success and we're driven by end goals. And when you're presented with a child who struggles in some way or another, that rug is just completely pulled from under your feet. And how do you fit into that box? You feel like you don't. So I think it's about realizing that you don't have to fit. You can make your own normal. You can find your own little box, you know, you can find, you know, and make it what you want to make it. So kind of, you know, whereas most families kind of go out to play dates and parties and things like that. And that's not to say Seb doesn't like it, but it can be quite overwhelming for him. Our exciting times is going to the beach at kind of 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning when nobody else is there. Anne and I with a hot flask of coffee, Seb you're up and down the beach, throwing stones into the water. That's our new normal, you know, that's what we like doing. And it's okay to step outside of what we expect our life should be and find something that's new, just as kind of great, but just different. You know?
Sounds like bliss, that beach scenario.
Nobody around. Just
Fab. Oh, that's really good advice. That's really good advice. And I think, you know, we all too often, especially with social media, it's very easy to feel like you've got to fit or that you're failing in some way. Now I'm really excited to talk about your project that you've been working on, but just before, what's the one thing you wish people knew or understood about autism or about, you know, about children?
Yeah.
What's the one?
I don't think it's just necessarily about autism. I think it's about lots of children. I think, again, relating to that kind of societal pressure to fit into a box. I think it's important to kind of see the children for who they are. And I get that kind of, you know, there are drivers like government targets and things like that within schools that kind of set us up to measure how, you know, where the children sit within, you know, a prescribed remit. And I think it's important to look at the children's individual needs, not just children with additional learning needs. I think it's any child.
Yeah.
And I think it's about asking questions, being open. I wish that people were more open, not fearful of asking questions. And I think the fact that they're fearful of asking questions and being open makes people a little bit judgmental. And I don't think they intend to necessarily be judgmental, but because they don't understand it, they make assumptions about why a child is behaving in a way they're behaving. And actually, if they ask some questions, they might see that actually there's something else underpinning, you know, what's happening. So it's like that iceberg analogy. You only see the tip of the iceberg, you know, the child having a meltdown, but actually underneath it, you've had a couple of days where they've had to comply with demands that they haven't been able to, that, you know, there's a noise in the background that is really uncomfortable to them, whatever it is that's making them anxious. And generally, kind of children's behaviour is an outlet for kind of anxiety. And we tend to feed into that by kind of, you know, putting extra pressures on them. You know, you will stop doing that, you're going to go to your room, or you're going to, you know, whatever it might be. which actually just adds to the anxiety and actually doesn't support them in controlling that behaviour. So kind of, yeah, I just wish people were more open, more questioning, and less judgmental, I think.
That would be great. And I find it's really strange because it's like we know these things about ourselves. Inherently, we know this. You know, a lot of people would admit to feeling like, actually, some days I can cope with life a lot better than other days.
Yeah, of course.
But we forget that other people, and particularly children,
yeah,
are exactly the same and less able to rationalize what's going on. So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So, what is your exciting project that you've been working on?
Okay, so we've been working with a local photography company called VK Photography and the National Autistic Society Swansea to make a documentary about autism, and it's called Look Inside the Rainbow.
Perfect.
Yeah. and we wanted to give a varied perspective of autism. I think with lots of documentaries that are made, they're wonderful in showing an insight into the world of autism, but they're either driven by severely autistic children or children who are fairly high functioning or parents' perspective. But we wanted to try and make kind of a rounded picture of what autism is. So we've interviewed parents, grandparents, specialists, teachers, learning support assistants, siblings, and we just want to get a feel really for what autism means to all of these different people, because it is very varied, the opinions that you receive, and it means lots of different things for lots of different people. The saying goes is that once you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. It's not a one-size-fits-all scenario, and everybody's views and opinions are varied, we just felt it was important to reflect that. And in making the documentary, we are showing it in Cinema & Co on November the 10th, and we're trying to find a second venue because we've already sold out, which is unfortunate. Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's great, but we want to get it out to as many people as possible. So we're trying to locate a second venue, and as soon as we do that, we'll share that information with everybody. So the money that we raise from that will be donated to National Autistic Society Swansea, as well as our community project called Spectropolis Pay It Forward.
Absolutely brilliant. It sounds fantastic. So if anybody watching knows of a venue or can help you in getting that out a little bit better, then let us know. And where can we find you? How can we get in touch with you? Your page is Spectropolis.
Yeah, so I'm called Spectropolis Mum on Facebook.
Spectropolis Mum, is it?
Yes, yeah. I also have a Twitter account and an Instagram account. Search Spectropolis again. And if you want to email me, you can email me on spectropolis2015@outlook.com, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Claire, what is there anything else you'd like to share before we finish?
I don't think so. I think we've kind of covered quite a lot, but if you have any questions, you can either comment on this video or send us a little email. It's fine. Yeah,
we're going to share this on Facebook, so there will be comments, and we'll both go through and make sure that we do answer any questions. But thank you. That's really interesting, and I love seeing your rainbows in the morning.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you for that.
That's okay.
And I can't wait to see this your film, Inside the Rainbow. It looks great. So lots of love to Seb as well.
Yeah, thank you. And to you too.
Enjoy. Okay.
Thanks. Bye, Ron.
Okay.